Welcome to the show. I'm James.
I'm David.
I'm Riley.
And today we are discussing a fan edit that is unofficial, known as Star Wars Episodes 1 to 3, The Chosen One.
Chosen One.
It's all three prequels put into one 3-hour movie. We will laugh, we'll argue, we'll definitely argue. We might get a little too into it, but at the end of the day, they're just 3 compressed movies.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert for all the prequels, I guess, because we're going to be talking about all of them. Even though we've covered episode 1, we've covered episode 2, and now in lieu of doing episode 3, we're doing this fan edit.
So this is kind of a review of episode 3 and also a review of this edit.
Yes. And talking about Star Wars in general.
And the prequels.
And next week, an extravaganza of Indian proportions. We're doing RRR, the craziest action movie to come out in years.
Yeah,
apparently.
Everyone's talking about it. I don't know what RR stands for, but it's probably something that I shouldn't try to
Doesn't matter.
say.
Actually, I think it's English. But
okay.
You can watch this movie on Netflix, I think, right?
Yes.
I'm going to try.
You can't, well, in Canada anyways.
But today, it's all prequels all day. So let's hear your review out of 10, David.
1 sec, I gotta get the voice.
Oh no.
Welcome to my Star Wars prequel diner, where we serve only the finest shit tacos, shit pizza, and shit burgers made from the finest, laziest, and runniest of shits. Because when you start with shit, you always taste shit.
Oh. I felt like I was there.
This fan edit can do nothing to help the worst trilogy of all time. Negative 69 out of 420.
Wow.
I don't know. I am so over the prequels.
Yeah.
I'm so over them.
Yeah. I'm so sorry we dragged you in here, David. Thank you for being here.
Riley, you're ready?
Yeah, it was hard to rate because, I mean, okay. My slogan is, a fan edit won't save you, Star Wars prequels. Only my new powers can do that. Yeah, like David said, the fan edit. I think he does a decent job. It's a decent attempt.
I want to make it clear. My thing is not about just the fan edit. It's about the experience of Star Wars.
Yeah, my slogan there is more about the fan edit. Like the movies are hard to save. I'm giving it a 4 out of 10 because there is some, like, I feel like we'll get into it. But I think that he did, like, you can see decisions that this editor made to affect the flow, and I think that it does end up making things a little bit better in some ways, but as a whole movie by itself, it still doesn't really work. James.
You put lipstick on a pig. All right, when it comes to the prequels, it's pretty intuitive that shorter equals better. But The Chosen One is incomprehensible to newcomers and demonstrates that the build-up is an essential ingredient to any release. I'm giving this a 3-hour fail montage out of 10, which is a 3.5. It sucks.
Yeah.
It's hard. I think I like Revenge of the Sith better than this fan edit, but I think this fan edit's working against itself by having 2/3 of it be the 1 and 2. I thought that the way that it started with coming in at 3/4 of the way through Phantom Menace, it was going to quickly smash cut 1 and 2, get us into 3, which is, I think everyone agrees, the best part of the prequels. But just like an hour and a half of
there's too much to, and we'll get into it right after this message from our sponsor, Secret Lab. The chair I'm sitting on is from Secret Lab. Their chairs are engineered to keep you comfortable for long hours at work and play. Their Titan Evo 2022 series chair offers 4-way lumbar support, comes with a magnetic memory foam head pillow, and is offered in different upholsteries like hybrid leatherette, soft weave fabric, and Napa leather, the official leather of the Outer Rim. With up to a 5-year extended warranty and a 49-day return policy, you're covered if anything goes wrong. Learn more about Secret Lab at lmg.gg/secret-jab. I'll slice ya. Secret Lab TJM.
Smoother on your butt than a dewback's hide.
You're bantha fodder. Manscaped has partnered with the Testicular Cancer Society to help you take care down there. While you're down there trimming the garden, Manscaped and the Testicular Cancer Society want to remind you to check yourself for testicular cancer with easy once-a-month routine at-home self-health checks.
I'm doing it right now.
Kegling during a podcast. This year, for a limited time, get their new special edition TCS Lawnmower 4.0 electric and waterproof trimmer. There are only 10,000 units in existence. And with its launch, Manscaped will be donating $50,000 to the Testicular Cancer Society to help those impacted by testicular cancer.
Nice.
Head to manscaped.com/TCS to grab yours, and always Use the code TJM20 at checkout for 20% off and free shipping. Thanks to Storyblocks for sponsoring today's show. Ever needed a quick clip for a video but didn't have the capacity to make it yourself? Storyblocks helps you by bringing your stories to life without sacrifice due to time, budget, and resource. There are over 1 million royalty-free assets for you to choose from, guys, including 4K HD footage, Adobe templates, music, images, and a wide array of diverse and inclusive content. There are subscriptions for every budget, so you can choose the plan that works for you. From their unlimited all-access plan that gives you unlimited video and audio downloads to enterprise licensing, so your entire company has access to assets as you need them when you need them. We use Storyblocks at Linus Tech Tips as we don't always have time to go out and get the perfect shot. We don't have to with Storyblocks. Take your videos to the next level, the level that ours are at, by checking out Storyblocks today at storyblocks.com/TJM. It's in the game. Okay,
Nice.
what
I
I
like that.
loved about this fan edit when I started, are you doing a synopsis?
I didn't write a synopsis.
No,
really.
that's silly.
But I have the like summary of the edit from the editor, so I feel like I should read that.
Is
Let's-
it concise?
Yes,
Is it detailed?
look, it's right here. It's just it's
Okay,
like a
okay,
quarter
it's
of a
short. I don't want to know like
yeah.
they cut by 30
Yeah,
seconds
yeah.
a scene in the elevator.
So this was cut by a user who goes by Cordless7 VII,
Cord cutter.
and yeah, that's on Reddit too. And what he says about this is the Star Wars prequels, episodes 1 to 3, edited down into one movie. I didn't simply cut out scenes and piece them together. This was a complete overhaul. I tried to make everything as seamless as possible so you can't tell the cuts or transitions.
Yeah, you just use a
And-
wipe transition. Boom.
The goal of this was to focus more on Anakin, his relationships, and eventual turn to the dark side with less drawn-out political scenes and Jar Jar. Thank you, sir.
He's in there.
This edit addresses common complaints about Anakin being too creepy towards Padme and too whiny altogether.
Almost so much you can do there.
The actors gave a great performance, but were hindered by poor dialogue.
Yeah.
Yes, this edit hopes to correct that. Enjoy. Yeah, I mean, some of the things that he says in the description, I'm like, I don't know,
Yeah.
but I want to make it clear that like this was probably a monumental task.
Oh man, it looked
attempt.
hard.
Yeah,
And
like kudos to you just for trying.
Is this
it.
like 7 hours of movie?
yeah, 7 hours.
Yeah, and I don't want to rip into this fan edit in particular too much because I think he does a fantastic job of trying to recoup it.
Yeah.
What I think is interesting is how it is entirely different of what I would keep in a fan edit.
Oh, you would have made different decisions.
Almost entirely
It would
different.
be all Jar Jar for you.
Let's talk about that
Jar
after
Jar.
we talk about what's
Yeah,
in it.
for sure.
I think it'll be easier to understand for the people who haven't watched it yet. As always, let's start with what works. I think that he did a great job, as he says, as making it about Anakin. In the prequels, especially the first one, it's unclear who's this about, who's the protagonist.
Right.
In this, it's very clear. He cuts out most of the first one, and we arrive. The first scene of this movie
Yeah.
is when Qui-Gon and Anakin are running towards the ship on Tatooine, and Maul shows up on his like speeder bike thing.
Yeah.
And they fight.
And
And
attacks.
I was amazed in the first 5 minutes of this. I was like, it's crazy how this works as a first scene.
Yeah.
This
I was
works
like, oh, this was
awesome.
such a good decision to
Yep.
start right in the middle of the
100%.
action. I mean, like in episode 1 starts with this like kind of like slow approach towards the
We're having a meeting with the trade delegates.
Yeah. Although I guess Star Wars doesn't usually do this like right in the middle in medias
media
res.
res.
Yeah, it doesn't do that usually. It is like the crawl. Oh no wait, A New Hope starts
Yeah, New Hope
right in
starts
the middle
with,
of it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
does Revenge of the Sith itself.
Right. That's true.
Empire's-
Never mind.
Yeah. Return
take
of the
it back.
Jedi has like a slow sort of ish build, but it's like we're right into Jabba's palace, right
Yeah.
into
But even in episode 1, the lightsabers come out within the first 5 minutes. The room starts filling with
Yeah,
gas.
I guess
and
so.
then
Yeah, within the first 5 minutes, but it like we're kind of ramping up to that. But this is like. I think I just really appreciated how it just is. We're right in the lightsaber fight right away.
Yeah. And you're like, that's a bad guy. And then it's not only that we're in media res. Anakin, you get to see him right away. He then runs. Hold on, I'll pause there. You get to see him right away. That matters. Because in the other movies,
Yes.
he's like 40 minutes in or something.
Yeah.
So he can't be the main character.
Right.
In this, he runs into the ship, and when he gets into the ship, he goes, Obi-Wan, you're a Jedi too. It's like
Yeah.
exposition.
Yeah.
It's weird how that worked. It just tells the audience, okay, that's another Jedi. It totally works.
I think that was probably honestly the best part of the fan edit because it forces you to think about the prequels in a different way and it forces you to like organize what you knew about them. And yeah, it really worked. I feel like I was like, okay, as a first-time viewer, if I've never seen this before, I wouldn't know who these characters are. All we know is there's this little kid, and he's like, oh, they're extracting him from somewhere, and now we're gonna learn more about these characters. And I think that lines like that really help, where he's like, oh, you're a Jedi too, and then we're gonna like learn more about the Jedi Council and how things work.
And it has clear story beats that you see in a normal movie, like them getting attacked and leaving the planet is like the inciting action, and then once he stands before the Jedi Council, and they're like, okay, you're gonna be trained as a Jedi. It's like, end of Act 1. Right. Now life will never be the same. Now he's gonna go and be a Jedi, and the dramatic question in the movie is, will he be a good Jedi?
Yeah.
And, spoiler alert, it's a tragedy. And then the final frame of the movie again is on his face, and it ends. It's like, this was all about Anakin. It's in the title, The Chosen One.
Yeah. I thought it was a bit awkward to make episode 1 so short. Is that what you were saying, David? I forgot what you said.
You liked that.
I liked that.
You liked that it was short. Oh, you thought
cut
it would...
most of it. I think there was too much episode 2.
Right.
But
I feel like optimally with 3 movies, movies themselves have sort of like 3-act structures that
typically
each of those acts, typically, but each of those acts can be like a little movie within itself. And so it's like my sense would be, if I was going to try and edit this down, I would try to make like episode 1, act 1, episode 2, act 2, but it makes it awkward because you have these time gaps. And so I understand why I didn't do that. But at the same time, I think that what we get then is sort of like some weird anticlimactic feelings of like, optimally, you would want this sort of like build up, climax, resolution, of each act. But as it is, I feel like episode 1 is too short to be a proper act 1.
I hear you.
Yeah.
I found that
it's only 25 minutes.
Yeah, I found myself craving
that's about right, actually.
A clear, like 3-act
But in a
structure.
3-hour movie, it could be a bit longer as well. Yeah,
I actually disagree. I wouldn't have put 1 movie per act. Often Act 2 is kind of divided into like 2A and 2B. I would have had the Clone Wars end as the midpoint. And I didn't time it out, but I think that's pretty much what happens. The midpoint usually is going to be some kind of escalation. Things get more complicated. And that's kind of what happens. The Clone Wars have begun. And then I would spend the next half of the movie on episode 3. I think that's pretty much what he did. The things that make it weird, though, is like, there's just so much in Attack of the Clones that like just doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I was thinking about that this rewatch. Could you have cut the entire clone storyline? Like, the prequels are so beholden to one throwaway line in episode 4. I was like, I fought with your father in the Clone Wars. And there's this entire fucking subplot that is not that interesting.
Yeah.
And like,
this is the thing, because we don't get remedied the things that, you weren't here, but when we were talking about the Attack of the Clones, one of the things that Riley and I spoke about was how we don't get shown what Dooku is doing, what the appeal is about the separatist movement that appeals to these these other planets and systems who want to join it. We don't see like that as a movement that we can sympathize with and think that villain is really sympathetic and I can see the merits of what they're doing.
Yeah.
And then in this, it's even worse because Dooku just shows up. You're like, who the fuck is that guy? And he's like, join me. You're like, what?
Yeah. I will never join you, Dooku. Yeah, he's like, you there's very little background there. I mean, to go back to the Clone Wars thing, that is like one thing that always kind of bothered me about the clone storyline in the prequels is the fact that the Clone Wars ended up being called the Clone Wars just because one of the armies was made up of clones. And it's like, okay, well, clearly this has happened before. These guys make clone armies. That's their whole shtick. So, like, presumably they've made clone armies for other people.
But this was the one.
This was the one clone.
Yeah.
Was it the largest order there?
Before the prequels came out, as like a kid reading Star Wars books and seeing references to the Clone Wars, because they weren't allowed to cover that era in the expanded universe.
Okay.
Like contractually?
Yeah, like Lucasfilm was like, okay, we're gonna make the prequels, so no one write books, during the prequel era, So
cool.
So I think a lot of people thought the Clone Wars would be more like, okay, there was like a boom in everybody cloning themselves for various different purposes or whatever. So then you ended up having all these conflicts because
Spider-Man pointing at himself.
Yeah, something like that. So
God, that would have been so much more interesting,
right?
Yeah,
and so
not
like
just
instead of
Boba Fett,
you got
but different.
You got Mace Windu.
Yeah. No, honestly, like, and then maybe there was like, okay, it ended because there was like, okay, this is too much cloning, and then the regulation happened, and then like there was a crackdown on cloning. Like,
and the
that would be
clones
like
fought back,
that would be like kind of an interesting thing, but instead it was just like, oh, they're called the Clone Wars because the stormtroopers are clones. It's like, okay. That was always really frustrating.
Speaking of clones, Boba Fett and Jango Fett get really shafted in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
To the extent that what's like what I was getting at with my slogan, where I was saying that you need the build up to appreciate the release, because we lose the fight on the what do you call that? Like the deck, the port, that rainy fight where Boba Fett's getting into or Jango's getting into his ship, and then they're fighting in the rain.
Oh, and we lose
that, and then you lose the chase in Attack of the Clones. Yeah, you lose that. So you lose the two big set pieces having to do with Obi-Wan facing or chasing Jango. So what you get is a meeting with Obi-Wan and Jango, where Boba Fett's there just at Kamino, being like, this guy's kind of shifty. Cut to Windu cutting his head off, and it's like, who cares?
Yeah.
That side character's dead, I guess.
Yeah, it was interesting that he like kept some of that stuff. There was definitely parts watching the fan edit where you know you're watching a fan edit, so now you're thinking more than you usually are about like, oh, he could have cut this, he could have cut this. And I was gonna say in that sort of around that sequence when we have the whole like droid manufacturing plant sequence where like C-3PO gets his head switch around and like Anakin and Padme are trying to like
cut that.
Yeah, I was like, we can cut this, but at the same time I was like, wait, but the C-3PO parts of this sequence were one of my favorite parts because they're just so goofy and funny. It's like we have some comic relief.
Oh, but I hated 3PO in this one because he's never introduced in episode 1. So when he shows up in episode... he shows up halfway through this movie when Anakin goes to save his mom, I think. We see 3PO again.
Right.
And it's like, we have no idea that Anakin has any engineering prowess, that he built this robot or anything, and suddenly he's just taking this droid with him.
That's
and now there's another character.
See, I think one of the things... and the dimensions of the fan edit that's hard to know without us trying to make a fan edit is what you can cut without making the transition so jarring that it's like unacceptable.
Well, I think the answer is there's no good answer. And this is why I don't deride the editor for this at all. It's just that he had to make these choices and there's consequences of those choices.
Yeah.
And some of the consequences make it awkward. And now, C-3PO just kind of shows up and there's other character introductions we don't really get. So we're just kind of like, who's that? I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's what you needed to do because what he prioritized was, okay, I'm gonna just take the main beats of how Palpatine comes to power. Oh, now you've been nominated for Chancellor. Now you've gotten to be the Chancellor.
Right.
Just the broad strokes, and then everything else. See you later. But sorry, 3PO.
What do you think of this fan edit as a way to rewatch the prequels for someone who's already seen them, who already has those beats in the back of their head and just wants to be refreshed on the story or experience it
That's
again?
definitely a strong point. I had my sister in the room who'd never watched them, and she was like, I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
See, like watching this one kind of made me question the idea of a fan edit at all, because obviously we decided to go with this one because it has all of the prequels in one, but there are a ton of fan edits of just the individual prequels where people kind of trim the fat on each of the individual movies. And watching this kind of made me question whether that's a good idea, because I don't think I would watch this again if I wanted to relive the prequels, because part of what makes the prequels tolerable, despite being objectively bad on many levels, some of the performances lack, some of the dialogue is horrible, obviously, broad plot structure really needs some help. But part of what makes it watchable is just kind of that continuous journey. They're bad movies broadly, but you can kind of see a through line and you can kind of see George Lucas trying to do something while you're watching it. And when you cut out a lot of that, it just kind of seems jarring.
100%.
Well, it feels like it's a really interesting entry to an encyclopedia. That's the appeal of it, is that you have the Star Wars knowledge because you've watched it. But it's I don't know.
I think you need to have baggage to come into this edit because, like I said, it's incomprehensible otherwise. But I don't think it's satisfying to watch. As I alluded to in my slogan, it's like you're watching a montage.
Yeah.
Because you're missing the connective tissue. So you're just watching a highlight reel.
When I finished it, I wanted to watch Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, I would have given Revenge of the Sith a higher score.
What would you... Do you guys have ratings for that?
Probably a 6.5.
I gave it a 6.5.
Yeah.
I haven't watched it since it came out, so...
It's good. It's still clunky and it still suffers from a lot of the issues, but even its filmmaking has stepped up. Like I think George Lucas knew that he needed help, and so there's like, like you compare the action scenes of 2 to 3, like when they're in the Colosseum and the Jedis are being cornered by the droids. They're not like amping the tension cinematographically,
graphics interchange format.
Anyways, by like simple things like punching in, like the tension isn't brought like closer by like, man, Mace Windu is fighting for his life, and they're every time they're cutting back to him, it's getting closer, and you can see it in his face. It's all these medium wides of like Jedi swinging swords and dancing. And
we really want to see all of the 50 lightsabers. What the kids want to see is lots of lightsabers.
Whereas in 3, right from the beginning, where the Jedis are doing their thing, and then they're talking to R2D2, and he's getting the radio. The way he hides behind a thing, and the camera slowly dollies in on him, and like the camera is helping to tell the story. And so I think 3 is much better for even just like the core elements of filmmaking.
Yeah. I also really liked, I feel like they tightened up the banter in episode 3. Like in episode 2, they try to have this relationship between Anakin and Obi-Wan.
So bad.
And it is there a little bit, but it's like, it's pretty cringe. Like it feels clunky.
Remember that pit of gun darts we fell into? That was just you.
I'm just going to start laughing.
Yeah. Oh my God.
What's wrong? You're not laughing at my joke.
Yeah. And then immediately we'll go into the scene with Padme. He's like, Annie, you've grown more beautiful.
I want to do things to you.
Yeah, and then just his insolence with Obi-Wan. I don't know. Clearly, I wasn't on the Clone Wars episode or Attack of the Clones.
You weren't. You're getting it out now.
Yeah,
but in episode 3, it seems a little bit better. Like 100%. Their banter while they're like infiltrating Grievous's ship and stuff.
It also just looks cooler.
Yeah,
actually, I think he looks a little too evil throughout the whole movie, but at least he doesn't have that like spiky hedgehog hair and a giant rat tail that originates as a sideburn.
Yeah. The Padawans are all just waiting to grow their hair out, but they have to have these stupid buzz cuts with the braid. Everyone hates it.
No, when I was a kid, I thought rat tails were cool for a second.
Oh,
as soon as I saw the Phantom Menace,
for a hot second, yeah. I thought that was a weird decision to keep that banter scene in the elevator in episode 3 in the fan edit, because I was like, okay, we cut out a lot of cool stuff. We cut out the Grievous fight.
Yeah,
he's characterizing the main character.
Yeah, I know, but it was just like, it wasn't just having that like little banter scene in the middle of all this other stuff. I don't know, it felt awkward.
Well, it's interesting. They cut a lot of, I think, what fans love in terms of action. Like even in 3, that big starship fight is so trimmed down, and I'm like, I think everyone liked that.
I think he was trying to hit a time, like 3 hours is the max I can do.
That's fair.
And I think it actually might have been a little better if he made it 4.
Yeah.
Because then, like in Attack of the Clones, he cuts the Dooku fight, and so then they have to do all these weird gymnastics. Like, okay, during the wedding scene, don't show that he has a robot hand, and then later on, when he must be shown to have a robot hand, we have to do a flashback, and we're flashing back to a time period that was covered by this movie.
Yeah.
And that is a sin. That is not done.
Yeah.
That is not done.
Yeah.
You can only flash back to the before times.
I felt bad for him then, honestly, because I was like, okay, I see what you're doing. You're trying to cut it down into something like a watchable time of 3 hours, but like, yeah, you just can't. It's again, it's not his fault necessarily. It's just like the subject matter that you're working with makes this very, very difficult.
There's other discontinuities, because when he skips the he skips the Grievous fight, later on, someone gives Obi-Wan's lightsaber back to him. It's like, well, when did he lose that?
Yeah.
I liked some of those aggressive cuts, like when they pick them up from the Coliseum and then it just cuts to him at the Jedi
cut
Temple.
the entire droid battle after that. Yeah.
It's interesting because I don't like the Yoda Dooku fight. I think that it's stupid.
I think that we could do with getting rid of that. Yes,
but but you are still talking about the Clone Wars, and you don't see the clones ever fight. Like they're just kind of there, so it's like, I don't know. And then
I mean, the movie's not called the Clone Wars or Attack of the Clones anymore. It's just the Chosen.
But
they're just in the background,
behind the wall.
In regards to those flashbacks, I actually liked some of them. I like the one when he's talking about like, are you like, you miss your mom, or like you're scared for your mom, and it flashes back to his mom like putting his hair behind his
ears.
That
worked.
I was like, that worked.
They worked. They were a little more unnatural than it would have been if you just filmed this movie that way. Because you're taking just different lighting, different scenes.
Well, and
they work in concept.
Yeah, and as an audience, they're like, that is a fan edit thing. That doesn't work. I liked also at the end the Darth Vader one, when he's like being lifted in the
final
table.
scene.
I actually think that scene, except for the hard cut to black, was kind of better.
Yeah.
Let's not get to that yet, but so that flashback worked, and then the hand cutting off worked if you were, like you said, it wasn't from the time period of the movie.
Yeah.
But I liked the flashbacks a little bit.
I think I was just to go back to the space battle. I was just so sad that he cut out more of that space battle because I remember being in the theater seeing Revenge of the Sith with my buddies. We were so freaking stoked.
It's pretty hype.
My friend went up to the front and had a lightsaber fight with some rando dude
During the movie.
before the movie started.
Okay.
Because everyone was lined up, so we got into the theater early. Everyone was like, some people were like dressed up. Well, we were dressed up.
It's okay to be cringe, dude.
We were in robes, and my buddy was. I think I said this in a previous episode. My buddy was wearing a zebra costume in an attempt to be a Wookiee. Like it was like a zebra onesie. It was a joke. But anyways, we were so stoked. And so like Revenge of the Sith, episode 3, the last prequel, it opens up and we just have this like seeing on the big theater screen like these starfighters like cresting the edge of the Star Destroyer and looking down on Coruscant, this giant fucking space battle. I'm getting chills remembering it. That was so freaking cool. And like, so when he cut part of this battle, I was like, no, what? But the droids, they get attacked by buzz droids. Yeah. And Obi-Wan didn't talk about hating flying.
The time jumps were a little weird too. Especially
like in between the movies?
Yeah, they had to. Like 10 years later. I guess that worked for between 1 and 2 because it was like, yeah, train the boy. Boom. Time jump to him being trained. That was cool. Between Attack of the Clones and the third one, that was more awkward. It was like, why are we time jumping?
It just felt weird to have a time jump like that in the middle of the movie again.
It felt like the end of a movie.
Yeah. But I mean, could he have? He had to have some sort of time jump because his hair is completely different. I was like, could he have just been like a month later or something? You know, but no. Couldn't do it.
I don't know. I think it's the way that Attack of the Clones ends. It just kind of seems like there's lots going on. Why leave? Why leave this time period?
Yeah. I want to mention that there was sort of like a technical aspect of this that made it difficult as well because I don't know, like how did it look on how did you guys cast this or play it on your TVs?
I watched it from Vimeo and I casted that tab of Chrome to my Shield.
That's what I did too.
And it looked like junk. And that was tough.
That's tough. I watched it from a Vimeo app on a Roku and it looked fine.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was not great. Like it's definitely not
Did it get better between episode 1 and 2? No, that's what happened to me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was like when the editor put it together, he had a lower res. Like episode 1 was just lower res than the rest.
Or like your streaming, like the bandwidth got a boost or something.
I should have had good enough internet to stream that crap.
Yeah, I think it's probably usually Chromecasting a tab
can be weird. Yeah,
casting a tab's not great for video.
Yeah,
usually it's like kind of crappy.
Okay, well that's good to hear that it was less bad on when you play it on a native app. Yeah,
I'm shocked that
I didn't even try that. I didn't even think of Vimeo as being an app.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, I was surprised.
Yeah, there must be a Vimeo Android TV app.
Wow, it's just like YouTube. This is insane.
Wow,
but
I really wish I did
copyright free zone. Like, how the fuck
Vimeo?
are they allowed to have a Star Wars property exist on the internet with not being taken down?
I mean,
it's wild.
It is
wild.
It is a fan edit. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, Disney probably
But
would.
if you think about the pillars of fair use.
No, I think you could upload as long as you're not monetizing it. They wouldn't take it down if you weren't monetizing it.
Do you think Disney would allow that?
I don't think so.
I don't think Disney would allow that to exist.
There's all sorts of like prequel stuff. Like there's like montages and stuff.
But I think that's like different enough. This, you can make the argument that like it fills the need of the prequels. Like it takes away from people participating with the prequels.
And that's one of the pillars. The other one's just like how much of the original work does it use?
Right.
In the case of episodes 2 and 3, like a substantial amount.
Yeah.
It's not parody. It's not comedy.
Yeah. But what I was gonna say about watching it, like with that kind of like low res issue, made it kind of feel in some parts like I was watching the pre-viz sequences where they like choreograph the action stuff, and like the effects aren't all there. I like in the elevator scene where the droids are like, the elevator's coming up, and he like does a backflip and like back into the elevator, and it takes off their heads. I was like, this didn't feel like a real movie. This felt like I'm watching.
It's such a fun franchise because you can see the effects get better and the computer generated effects, like they just improved so much over the 5 years or whatever that this series was coming out. But then they still suck in some ways. Like when Anakin jumps out of the elevator, they can't like animate him like jumping sideways, so he just jumps straight up and then they like transpose him. It looks so tacky.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. When they're on the bridge and they're freeing Palpatine and Dooku shows up with his 2 guards, and they're like, "Oh God, Dooku," and it's like a what's gonna happen moment, and Dooku just jumps up and does a CGI front flip off the balcony onto the bottom. I was like, oh, you see, that's the type of stuff that you get. Like, he could have cut that out, I guess, but like, there's too much stuff like that in the prequels, whether it's weird CGI stuff or like weird dialogue or whatever. You can't get rid of all of it. You can't fix it.
And you can't easily cut that without making it super jarring, because it's like there's a flow to the scene, there's like reverse shots, these things, and like,
and now he's down here. How did he get down there?
Exactly. So there's some stuff you just can't cut, even though it would be better. I think the problems with the prequels, I think we can all agree, they're too fundamental, and it starts from the writing, and there was no hope. There's no hope for a fan edit. I've seen good theoretical fan versions where it's like someone narrating what would happen, with like drawings of these scenes, and it's a completely different franchise.
I feel like
it's
we're
really
talking
cool.
about the same video. Like, I feel like I've seen this video you're talking about.
Me too. Yeah.
And I was like, that made me feel things watching that video, because I was like, oh man, if they could have made this version of it.
Even like the Red Letter Media videos where he like talks about what it should have been. You're like, yeah, it should have been exactly something that like completely
But that's
different.
not in camera, so it's not available to this editor. Right?
No.
I'd be interested to see if someone could make like a better version of that using some kind of AI. No, we're not there yet. We're not there. Like,
we have these text-to-image AI generators now. We can just like feed a script in and see what they do.
There was a couple times where I wished that a scene that was just pure exposition didn't exist, and I wish that they had made it like when they're giving Obi-Wan his mission, instead of having like a 2-minute scene of like people sitting around staring at each other talking, they cut that and they had a shot of him flying, and then it was someone relaying to him in 15 seconds the objective, just like in a close-up, and you just hear the person, and like it would be weird because as an audience you know that it's not there, but I think that it would make the movie way better instead of having all these two people staring at each other talking scenes. This movie is directed like a shitty video game. And it fucking it makes me so mad every time they just sit there staring at each other or walking staring at each other. Like, people don't act like that. They're not humans. They're like these weird robots.
So like I was thinking about this because some of the most cheesy, most Shakespearean sort of like over the top wooden parts are the parts between Anakin and Palpatine, where Palpatine is just kind of like, have you ever heard the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise? And he's like, I can save your wife. And they're just like they're not talking like normal people. Like, there are some scenes where people talk like normal people. These are not them. But at the same time, I kind of like these scenes as bad. And this is why when you watch the prequel, unedited original version, you can kind of like, there are little things you can grasp onto where it's like, you know what? This is cheesy and this is bad. It's bad written dialogue, but I'm along for the ride because I've bought in to a certain extent, and I do that with the Anakin and Palp cheens because it's like it's cheens, it's cheesy scenes. I combine them,
Palpatines,
because they just like lean into it, but at the same time they're so great because the writing is so stupid. Like, Palpatine's like, and you like learn the dark side, and you'll be able to save your wife from certain death. And Anakin's like, what did you say? Like, are you going to kill me? I would certainly like to. It's just, what was he thinking?
I would certainly like to.
You just
Lucas.
That reminds me of the best cut in this whole movie is the Sith are evil. The Jedi are evil. That was the best. The original being, from my point of view, the Jedi are evil.
I didn't pick up on that he cut that. That's good.
I thought that
awesome.
edit was interesting, that they cut so much of that final confrontation, because to me that's like the most important moment of the entire prequel is Obi-Wan versus Anakin fighting, and there's a lot of the fight left, which I think I would have cut more, but that conversation they cut down, and it's not that long of a conversation.
Honestly though, that fight gets ridiculous.
100%.
Yeah.
It's stupid.
But like, even as someone who like wants to see just all sorts of just goofy lightsaber battles and Star Wars shit, I'm like, okay, we get it. They're having this fight. Like, when they're hanging off the side of a broken structure thing, like hanging over lava, still kind of like taking swings at each other. I'm just like, this is just get to a different place and then continue.
I'm excited to talk about Obi-Wan, which we will do a little bit later.
Yeah, they're like on ropes.
Yeah, exactly.
What are they doing?
I want us to talk a little bit about like some of the general ideas that the prequels just ruined Star Wars forever. And one of the things the prequel did is, I mean, ruin the Force. And I'm sure we've talked about the midichlorians and how stupid that is. Why was that kept in this fan edit? I was sure that all the conversations about midichlorians would be cut out.
Well, I think it's important because Qui-Gon uses that to convince the Jedi Council that this kid is worth looking at. He's got a higher concentration than anyone else.
Okay, sure, maybe. But even this watch, I was struck at how much the Force is ruined in terms of like how you access its power. They're just like, there's no like finding inner peace or like tapping into some deep anger. It's just like, they're all just kind of superheroes. And it sucks. It's so uninteresting, and it's not like this, like the Force has sentience now, like the will of the Force. And it's like, who fucking cares? The Force is like this mystical energy that binds everything, is like flows through everything. And by giving it sentience, by making it a superpower that you tap into, it's so much worse. And we've never recovered from that, because now that's just what the Force is. It's not much more, it's not mysterious anymore.
I mean, to be fair, post prequels, there was very little mention of midichlorians. I feel like they would mention them in the expanded universe stuff sometimes, but it was more kind of like as a throwaway line. It wasn't like, well, we have a plot element that relates to like manipulating midichlorians to do something, right? It's like, I think everyone kind of knew when George Lucas introduced midichlorians, everyone was kind of like, oh, what? And so like after the prequels, you know, we have that as part of the lore, and midichlorians exist, but people didn't really think about like, okay, what are we going to do with that?
But beyond the midichlorians, I feel like it's
I agree, though. It would be so much better as just like a mystical energy.
Yeah, well, and even beyond that, just like the way that they're tapping into the Force and utilizing the Force. Like, I think what's most exemplary of this is the chase scene in the second movie when they're going through the city chasing the bounty hunter, and like like they're like skydiving and like catching shit and like that's not what the Force should be. It's not just like this ability to like skydive and like catch like hang off the side of things. It should be like you have to tap into something mystical deep inside of yourself, like find that power within you that connects you to everything, not just like really fast reflexes to catch lightsabers as they fly by and like, you know, just like doing things quick and like, oh, there's a centipede in the other room. Ha! Like that stuff totally is stupid. And it makes the Force just really simple and dumb. And like you don't think about it because you grew up with the prequels. But as I've been disenfranchised from this franchise, I feel like I have this hatred for what the Force became. And it's not about midichlorians. It's about how powers exist.
Right. That's funny. I mean, I don't really feel like the Force is like, other than the midichlorians, I don't feel like the prequels did horrible things to the Force. I mean, I feel like when the Jedi do these kind of like superhuman things or whatever, I'm just kind of like, okay, it sort of makes sense that the Force would allow them to do that, because we know that they have to have, like from the original movies, we know that they have to have like Force powered reflexes to like deflect blaster bolts and stuff. And so it's like, okay, and we know that they can like manipulate gravity and like, you know, levitate things. So when they would, it made sense to me that
you can sense other people and stuff. So it makes sense that you could go, okay, he's over there. If I jump out of the car now, I might land on his. Yeah, I kind of know his position.
The dimension that's missing for me is them connecting with the spiritual side of it. It's
having to like release their butthole and free their mind. To,
exactly.
We got a lot of that in like Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah,
and Return of the Jedi.
I think that's what makes the Force interesting, is that it's like you have to tap into that part of yourself, and it's what makes it a universal story.
Or you clench your butthole really hard. That also that makes it better.
It's like stop the Force leaking out.
It's like a real like Shaolin monk story versus the Karate Kid. And I feel like the prequels made it the Karate Kid, where it's like, if you train and swing your lightsaber enough, you're going to be super strong. And instead of like this, like you never see the Jedi go into isolation and like really tap into this hard, dark part of themselves. Like they never go into a cave and face themselves and like really
they come out of a factory, actually.
Yeah, and it's literally a factory.
A bunch of kids in this temple.
And I feel like there's a lot of things in the prequel that we just accept because we were kids when it came out, but are like fundamentally make Star Wars worse.
Yeah, no, I think I accept what you're saying here, that like, obviously I grew up with them and I thought the like Jedi doing cool shit was cool.
Same.
But I do agree that they would be so much better if we had that sort of mystical element and like the sort of like more psychological, emotional element of, okay, in order to connect to the Force, you have to like go through these things. To be charitable, if I'm being charitable to George Lucas and the prequels, then I might say, okay, we don't have that element as much because part of the story is how the Jedi have lost their way and how they have actually become corrupted and forgot who they are. Or who they're
Yoda
supposed
makes
to
such
be.
bad calls.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
it really was
does.
the focus of the movie because, like, in hindsight, we've kind of changed the story to be about that, but I don't think that was the intention of George Lucas.
Can we bring it back to episode 3?
Yes.
I have 2 big gripes I want to hear your thoughts on.
But wait, to address that point, I feel like we'll get back to that. But I do want to address because I feel like watching it this time again, I feel like it is a little bit there more so than I noticed before because I mean we have Mace Windu going to take down Palpatine right away with like a bunch of Jedi
who suck.
My favorite
2 of
part,
them immediately get killed.
Yeah.
And Palpatine takes his lightsaber and goes.
he just
"Whoa,
literally
whoa."
just stabs one right away with no resistance. Also, before that scene, it's so great because Anakin's like, I think Palpatine's a Sith Lord. And Mace Windu's like, what?
Huh?
The first time you're telling me this? Oh, that's so crazy. And they're walking as they have this conversation. And at the end of their walk, he gets onto a gunship where like 4 or 5 other Jedi Masters are there. And they go straight to Palpatine.
We were gonna play poker tonight.
We were on the way to the party, but yeah, I guess
Hold
we'll
your
stop
bets,
by.
guys, because
Yeah.
I got some news.
And then they have that whole fight, and the other Jedi die, and then Mace Windu is like, he's too powerful to be left alive, and Anakin's like, he has to stand trial. And Mace Windu isn't acting like a Jedi, he's acting like someone who's drunk with power, and he's like, this is a threat, so I have the jurisdiction to just murder somebody.
I think that
Well, he's recognizing the systemic power that Palpatine has garnered.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like, you can definitely make it more of an argument for like killing him right there, but I'm just saying that like the Jedi are supposed to be, okay, I'm not going to murder someone in cold blood when I've beaten them, obviously, I don't know.
I think though I agree where like
that's
again,
me being very charitable.
I think with the charitable view, I think you could make an argument for it. I think to me, it's so clear that the storytelling control was not there,
Right.
And it was just like we need to get from point A to point B, and the big objective was to get from Anakin, innocent child, into the Darth Vader suit,
Yeah.
and everything serves that, even at the expense of thematic or bigger ideas about the Jedi.
My
Yeah.
biggest problem is the route they take to do that. Like even as a teenager, probably 16 when this came out, the third one.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was in high school.
2005?
I was never that kind of like compelled by his transition to the dark side.
It seemed kind of awkward.
It's like, oh, he just wants to like get this one power to save his wife. I think it would have been cool if he was seduced more like, yeah, everything that Jedi taught you was wrong. It's just one way of looking at it. You can look at it this way, and it's like super cool. And
When he should have had
they've lied to
If
you.
there was like a bigger philosophical element instead of just like, I'm telling you that the Jedi are planning to take over, and he's like, what?
When he should have had to face off against like a foe that was stronger than him, and he should have had to tap into the dark side, and that should have
Right.
been like a moment of him like starting.
I think
to
a
turn.
lot of this happens in that Clone Wars animated series,
yes, that's 100%,
which is obviously
true.
better.
Man, yeah. The 2D one.
Well,
Yeah.
Well,
Well, people like the 3D
people,
one.
people would say that it happens in
Well,
the
and people-
CGI one too.
People, anytime we talk about Star Wars, like, well, yeah, they fixed it in the Clone Wars. I'm sorry, I'm not
They
going to
didn't
watch it.
fix it. They helped a bit.
Yeah, and it's all retcon, and to me, retcon stuff never feels correct. Like it's the same with any of the TV shows or like even Rogue One when they try and retcon big issues, big holes. And like the hole still exists, even though you tried to pretend like it wasn't there because there was this solution.
Right.
Because it came after. It was not. It doesn't fix it.
Yeah.
Makes me very frustrated.
What were you gonna say, James? I interrupted you. Do you remember?
I don't know. I just don't like that whole the path to it is just not cool. Like it's not compelling to me. And then also like when it happens is the duel like with Windu there. I just don't like it, man.
Yeah.
it just doesn't seem realistic.
It does not. It seems super fake. Like it seems like they got 2 old guys in there and they are like badly doing.
And then Windu
choreography.
like Anakin cuts off Windu's arm and then shoots out of the window and what have I done? Oh no, what have I done?
Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
And then he goes full evil. He's like, "Yeah, I'll do anything you ask now."
Yeah, it's a very dramatic operatic scene there, but yeah, I think that it would have worked a lot better if we had more of this gadget. Man, when you said like, oh, if he faces off against someone more powerful and he had to tap into the dark side, I'm like, that just made me think like there are so many ways
So many
that
ways.
you
Yes.
could rewrite these.
The thing is, guys, every person thinks that what they're doing is the right thing to do. Like your enemies, that's like the problem with our society today is we can't talk to each other because we don't agree on truths, right? It's like, oh yeah, well the insurrection happened because they thought that this person who stole they literally thought they stole the election, that they were doing the right thing.
Yes.
So, and I don't see that in this movie. It's just kind of like, I'm trying to save my wife, and I'm just gonna do this bad thing.
It seems like the two real components are he wanted to save his wife's life, and he thought the Jedi were actually taking over. And I'm like, okay, wait, if he didn't think the Jedi were taking over, would he still have turned? Because it seems like he witnesses Mace Windu like basically attacking Palpatine, and so it's like, wait, so Darth Vader, the whole reason that Darth Vader exists is because he happened to walk into this room and see Mace Windu doing this, and if he didn't see that, maybe he wouldn't have become Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Like I'm thinking,
there's tons of moments like that in the first scene of this edit when Maul is fighting Qui-Gon. It's like, man, if Maul would have just cut that kid in half right now, the saga's over.
Yeah,
but I guess that probably wasn't his mandate. No, he was probably going to collect him.
It's just so weird for me to think of Darth Vader being this like badass villain. He's like in his convictions, and like you can't convince him to turn to the become good again or whatever. He's like the most scary figure in the galaxy because he walked into the room at the wrong time and got tricked.
I want to see the fan edit where Anakin's speeder doesn't take off, and he's just there, and he's trying to like get it to work, but then they kill Palpatine, and it all ends up happy.
Well, yeah, there's all sorts of things like that.
You want to do some nitpicks?
Oh wait, I wanted to talk one more thing about that scene. A lot of the things that suck about the prequels and all the like Disney Star Wars shit where they go back and are like, we're gonna do Han Solo movie, is when they do here's how Han Solo got his pants.
Yeah.
Here's how Han Solo got his name. In this one, I think one of the worst moments, and again, I just accepted it when I was a kid, but watching it this time, I was like, this is so fucking stupid, is how the Emperor gets his looks.
Yes.
It's so stupid.
I'm actually really glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
Because this is like, I feel like it's a trope that has extended to other things as well, where it's like, oh, this guy looks weird, so we're going to show this whole crazy accident where they get disfigured or whatever. And it's like, we don't need it. Like, can't we just show? And he doesn't even look that fucked up in Return of the Jedi. Like, he looks like someone who's just aged. Like
he's 200 years old.
Yeah, he looks like someone who is he's only alive because of the dark side, and so he just got more wrinkly and wrinkly and wrinkly. Yep. But in this one, they had to be like, oh no, that's lightning scars. And I'm like, that's so stupid.
It also just looks like just bad. It just looks so bad.
Terrible.
I guess I was going to say another franchise of which something like this exact thing happens, but that's spoilers, and I don't want to do that, so I won't even say the franchise.
In that case,
oh, I know which one you're talking about.
It's time for hit picks and nitpicks.
Wait.
Nope.
Nitpicks. Okay, this is a very broad nitpick.
Screw you. That's not in the spirit of nitpicks.
I feel like watching this movie has made me think that maybe it's just impossible to do Star Wars well anymore.
I think after watching this, I thought maybe I don't even like Star Wars. Maybe I thought I had to because when I was a kid, all the adults were like, that's the best thing from when I was a kid. Like, I knew my uncle liked it. I was like, you like Star Wars? Cool, I like it too.
Yeah.
And then the prequels came out. That was cool shit. But maybe they actually all suck. They've always sucked.
Okay, wait.
I'm watching Obi-Wan and I'm like, this sucks.
Yeah, but this is what I'm saying. This is my thesis here, okay? The original trilogy, they're cheesy, fun movies or whatever, but they're good as good, fun, cheesy movies. The dialogue is not prequel level. It's good. There's a hero's journey there.
Elevated it to be better than what that kind of movie can be.
Sure. And then we got the prequels, and I feel like Star Wars has been poisoned by this whole cycle of thing is released, there's backlash to it, enough time passes, and then we're like, maybe it wasn't so bad. And then we have nostalgia related to the prequels, so we know that they're bad movies, but we enjoy watching them because we have that nostalgia. And now I'm like, okay, wait. Now I feel like there's been this mistake where we have these bad movies as our benchmark of Star Wars, and maybe it's just impossible.
Yeah, we're fucked.
I liked Rogue One. Rogue One was good, but you know why Rogue One was good? Because it almost didn't feel like Star Wars. It felt like a war movie. Like, it felt like a different kind of movie in the Star Wars universe.
When it feels like a fan movie where they're like, we're going to explain how they got the plans for the Death Star. It's a story that doesn't need to be told, but it's like, okay, sure.
I feel like there are some really good, fun Star Wars moments in Rogue One, like the space battle above Seraph is super cool.
The last 40 minutes is sick.
But I'm not sure, like outside of Rogue One, it seems like every Star Wars thing that they've put out is just like so offensively mediocre to me.
Well,
like it's just, some of them are okay. Yeah. The Mandalorian, but like
pretty good, man. It's fine.
I don't know.
There's two good Star Wars movies, and we just keep going. We're like in an abusive relationship.
Hey, I think all the originals are great.
Well, I think Star Wars has been carried by its extended universe for a long time. Like, I think the books and the video games especially are what have made people excited, because you think about the prequels suck, and at the time we knew they sucked, but there was all these amazing video games that were coming out. Like we had the Jedi Knight series, we had the Knights of the Old Republic.
So cool.
Nope, that game sucks. I played it on stream. I hated that.
Oh
game.
really? I played it so much as a kid.
Maybe it's because like the I never played it, but I was like, this is horrible.
Oh, you never played KOTOR?
No, I played KOTOR, not the Obi-Wan.
Oh,
but I played Fallen Order. I turned off that game. I was like, fuck this game, I'm not playing it. And I put on Fallen Order, and I was like, oh, you know what? Video games might save Star Wars again.
Fallen Order's great.
It's awesome. Jedi Survivor coming out, buddy.
Yeah.
All right, here's back to the nitpicks. Okay. How can Yoda fall?
What do you mean?
How can he fall?
What do you mean?
He's in this fight where he's hanging on to these like Senate booths and he's falling. Ah! These guys, Yoda can pick shit up with his mind, and he can pick up heavy stuff. And he weighs what, 20 pounds?
It's actually,
how can he possibly fall?
It's actually super irritating to me that we never see Jedi levitating themselves. Like we've seen it. We've actually seen it in expanded universe stuff. I think it happens in the 2D.
Why don't they
Wars.
Fly? Like what the hell?
Yeah.
How can he fall?
Well, I think the level of the level of force power. Like, I think that it's pretty consistent depiction in Star Wars universe in general that, like, lifting giant objects is hard. So, like, flying would be hard. Like, it wouldn't be just like, I'm flying around, it's totally fine. You'd have to be, like, exerting yourself the whole time. So it's like, you don't want to do that.
But Yoda is so strong and so light that it doesn't make sense that he can fall.
Yes,
I'm not even saying let him fly like Superman, but he can't fall.
At the like, we see all these like implications that Jedi are kind of like slowing their fall with the Force, but we never really see someone falling and then being like, I'm like slowing myself and a light landing. Like we never see that.
You know what would have been a
it's
sweet
so irritating
scene
to me.
Between Anakin and Padme is a Superman scene where he picks her up and they go into the sky in the moonlight. That would have been dope.
No,
that would have convinced me that he could actually get laid.
That would not have been dope.
Here's a nitpick. So Obi-Wan gets picked up by Dooku and then thrown over. This is in the final fight when Dooku gets his head cut off. Obi-Wan gets picked up by Dooku, kind of like Magneto picking up Wolverine when he's just like spread eagle, like in midair, and then he gets tossed across the room, and then some like balcony gets laying on top of him. Why? When Dooku picks him up, he's like 4 feet away from him. He could have just picked him up and chopped him in half, but he doesn't.
Story reasons, I guess.
Yeah, there's
pick
a
him
lot
up
of
from farther away. It's just dumb.
There's a lot of things like that where it's just like, okay. And this is why it's so frustrating when you see like official Star Wars properties do stupid things.
Yeah.
Where you're just like, why wouldn't they just do this? And then you see fan creations, you see fan films where like they explore these kind of things. It's like, hey, the most efficient way to kill somebody would just be to like pick them up and slice them. And like I feel like I've seen that in fan depictions, like fan content. And it's like, why can't Disney or the official people just like understand that we want to see people do cool shit with the Force that makes sense?
The best thing to do is actually just pilot your lightsaber around like it's a mind-controlled jet and just like spear it across the room and through someone's head.
This is one of the funniest things that lightsaber throwing, like a lightsaber throw is like a staple move in every Star Wars video game that has a lightsaber, basically. I'm sure it's not in everything, but like that's based off the fact that like Darth Vader throws his lightsaber at Luke in the Cloud City fight, I think at one point. Yeah. But we never see him like retrieve it like a boomerang. But that is like a staple. Like everyone knows Jedi can do lightsaber throws. Yeah. And we never see that in a movie. Why not?
It's too powerful.
They should be doing that all the time.
I think like you said, it's like Zondu or like what's his name in Guardians of the Galaxy? The blue dude? Zondu? Vandu?
I don't know.
He has a little arrow thing that he can just like go and kill like 100 people.
It might be Zondu. I don't know. It's something. It's definitely Ondu of some kind.
Yeah, you just do that with lightsabers.
Here's a big nitpick. The whole premise of Padme dying at the end of Return of the Revenge of the Sith is that she's not medically hurt. She's just lost her will to live. It's like she's dying of a broken heart or something like that. And I just don't think that fits her character. And it's actually offensive to women.
Yeah.
Not to be like about it, but like it actually is, because she is such a strong-willed character the entire saga, and
And they
Anakin's
explicitly
always saying stupid autocratic shit, and she's like, "You're an idiot.
Yeah.
You don't understand how our legal system works."
And they
she just-
explicitly tell you at certain points that like, whoa, what? When they're going off, Obi-Wan's like, I hope he doesn't do something stupid, and General whatever his name is, not Panaka, it's the other guy, but he's like, oh, I'd be more worried about her doing something. And it's like, the movie is explicitly trying to tell
youngest queen ever. Like, she's such a bad bitch.
Yeah.
And then she's just gonna be like, oh, Anakin. I'm like, she would just leave with. She would take those fucking kids and peace out. She doesn't need this guy. It's just so stupid to be like, well, if I can't love Anakin, the guy,
Yeah. It's
then
such a
I'm
weird.
dead. It's just so
it's
stupid.
Very misogynistic. Where he's like,
He should have just murdered her.
he's cut into 7 pieces. He's like burnt to a crisp. They drag him off the magma, and he knows his kids are dead, and he gets to live and
Yeah.
be strong.
I know that somebody in the room was like, why doesn't he just murder her?
Yeah.
And they must have been like, well, because, he is a fan. We want the fans to not like despise him, even though he has killed children already. So he is deplorable.
Yeah.
He's like literally the worst person.
So
like
instead, what they do instead is Palpatine's like, you killed her. And he's like, no. But actually, he should have just fucking killed her.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I like this edit cuts out him like quote unquote killing her. I guess it's never really. I didn't look into the lore much to find out whether he actually killed her or whether she actually died of a broken heart or whatever. But like, I guess if he was like force killing her from afar away, then they would be like, I don't know why she's dying, but she's dying, And that, at least from a lore perspective, that sort of made sense because it's like he's probably thinking about her, and maybe because he's so in the dark side, just like thinking about her is killing her. Like I can see that making sense.
Well, and they even have the fact that there is a confrontation between them where he chokes her and shit. Like, you can pretty easily have him murder her.
You're going to have to do it in a special way that she can still give birth. But they got technology and stuff.
Maybe she gives birth and then they have a confrontation.
Yeah. That would be the way.
You can make
do
the
it,
argument that he wouldn't kill the person carrying his children, but he might, and that would make it. If he thought he killed his children, that'd be even worse.
Nitpick for me, and this is like a movie broad nitpick, but when this movie does it, and when they catch the bounty hunter and they like knock her on her back or whatever. And when you capture someone that's resisting arrest or resisting you, but then they like freely put their arm around your shoulder so you can carry them because it's a movie, and they need to drag you to another scene. It's like in real life, that person would be like, no, fuck you, pushing you off.
They like pull out a knife and try to.
Yeah, exactly. But she's just like freely puts her arm around and like walks.
Okay, you got me.
It's so stupid.
You cut off my hand, so I'm dying.
Oh, another nitpick. This is not an original one for me, but every time I hear it now, it makes me so mad. Is when Obi-Wan to Count Dooku. I think Sidious is like, oh, watch out, he's a Sith Lord. And he's like, don't worry, Sith Lords are a speciality. And
Who says that?
Obi-Wan. And it's like, actually, no, Dooku kicked your ass last time, dude. And you've literally never fucking faced
On a 2-on-1.
Lord. Yeah, it's like, come on.
What?
It's a stupid lie.
The Jedi
it is.
suck compared to the Sith.
And nitpick for me, it was like a laughing hitpick. Palpatine asks Anakin to sit on the council, right? He's like, oh, be my representative on the council. Anakin goes to the council, and they're like, okay, you can do that. And Obi-Wan's like, ooh, your friendship with the Chancellor is paid off. And Anakin's like, he has nothing to do with this. I'm like,
what the fuck are you
what do you mean? He's the whole reason you said that.
Then he's mad that he's on the council but not a master. I'm like,
Yeah.
you should be so happy you just got this gift to
Yeah.
freaking just be in the council. It's like, yeah, they're letting me hang out of the White House, but I'm not even a senator.
But I'm not even president.
You're just a regular guy, dude. Like, just be happy to be there.
Major nitpick, they cut out the whole Grievous lightsaber fight, which is like, okay, if we're gonna watch these stupid prequel movies, we keep the cool.
That's iconic.
I was glad up till that point because I'm like, oh man, they kept all the cool lightsaber fights at least. I mean, Dooku, whatever. That's not even a cool fight, really. But they kept all the good stuff. And then right as he's about to like start fighting Grievous, they cut away. I'm like, what? He's the guy with the 4 arms. He's got 4 lightsabers. We're gonna cut that out.
You can cut the chase. I think the chase isn't particularly good, but the actual fight is pretty.
And then we cut out to the end. It's like keep the worst part of the Grievous fight, which is just him like punching each other. And
More like a grievous omission. Am I right?
Hey!
It really annoys me when Mace Windu and Jango are fighting, and then the lightsaber lands in the fight, and Jango just dives for the lightsaber because he's like this stupid idiot bounty hunter who's never faced a Jedi who can
Except
just
for Obi-Wan in the
pull
same
things. So it's
movie.
like it's so. Yeah, it's like such a dumb way of getting him closer so that what's his face can cut his head off.
Yeah.
That's annoying. Django sucks. Do you know who
Django
else
does
sucks?
suck.
Boba Fett. Do you know who else sucks? Everyone in the Star Wars universe.
Hey, we're going to talk about Obi-Wan in 1 second. nitpick or hitpick, I guess. when the Jedi confront Palpatine and he stands up and like Force grabs his lightsaber out and he's like, "It's treason, then do a barrel roll." He just does
and
this,
that
like,
sound effects.
tornado.
It's like a Mortal Kombat move. It's sick.
It's just so stupid.
It's so stupid.
Like they were like at that point they were like, okay, we've done basically all the cool lightsaber stuff. What can we do now?
It would have been
What do we
way
have
better
left?
if those
Barrel roll.
Jedi henchmen just had to approach him. He just like puts out his lightsaber and stands there, and then those other Jedi who get killed immediately were just engaged him one-on-one, and he demonstrated his prowess by just dispatching them. We'd be like, oh shit.
Yes.
And then that would serve to build up the fight with actual Windu.
That's another thing that I think the prequels really fuck up is that the Jedi are reliant on lightsabers. And I think that like every Jedi skill circles around being good with a sword.
Yeah.
And that sucks because like the Jedi could be so much cooler if like there was like other force powers that were like just as viable.
Like shooting energy out of her hands like the Sith.
Darth Sidious doesn't need to be proficient with a lightsaber to kill people. And I
Yeah.
think that'd be way cooler if he was so much better than them that like these people attack him with lightsabers and without a weapon, he
And
deals
to
with
bounce
them.
off of that, Yoda just shouldn't have a lightsaber.
100%.
No, yeah, that was
100%.
weird. I mean, so like I will say that you're 100% right that well, not 100% right. You are
More than 50%.
probably mostly right that the prequels, I don't know if they were like intending to tell this story 100% that the Jedi have like lost their way and that's why things went bad. But definitely what we got in the expanded universe after the prequels was that story told over and over again. And that's why I think, you know, we've talked about this when we got to The Last Jedi and it's like, okay, we're learning for the first time that we thought the Jedi in the prequels were really good. And now you're blowing my mind, Rian Johnson, by telling me that they were messed up. Like, because in the expanded universe, following the prequels, we got that story. We got like Jedi doing like, talking about the Republic Jedi and how they had like gotten big heads and they were generals of armies, you know, they were like platoon commanders instead of like monks who are like guiding people spiritually and like protecting people when they need it, you know. And in the New Jedi Order book series, we get this like really, really great exploration of the Force outside of the Jedi paradigm with Jason Solo. He goes on this whole thing because this species invades called the Yuuzhan Vong.
All right, land the ship, Riley. Run out of time here.
I just mean that like he goes on this whole exploratory journey of like connecting with the non-Jedi aspects of the Force, and in the end, the climactic battle of that series. This isn't really spoilers, but he learns to control the Force to like control his excretions of his body.
Hell yeah.
So like he's fighting this other person who can do this too, and they're like manipulating. They're manipulating like the molecules in their blood and stuff to turn it toxic.
Or can they manipulate other people's?
I mean, they're manipulating their own and then like scratching each other. So then it's like poisoning each other, and they're having this whole like fight, and it's like,
cool.
Can a male have multiple orgasms?
Maybe. I just mean that like it's sad to see that kind of element not explored so much in the mainline franchise.
Do you know what they need to do in the next release of the Star Wars franchise? Is instead of having it be like a Blu-ray set or whatever, it's like a piece of software. And it's just like, hey, what are the things about Star Wars you like? You like these fights? You like this? You do that? You just check mark that.
Make your own Star
and then
Wars.
It generates movies for you.
All right, guys. Speaking of movies, how about now playing Obi-Wan?
Obi-Wan. 3 episodes out so far.
Yep.
Wait, when this one comes out, there will be another
4.
one episode.
We're talking about 3.
Third.
But
First
we've
3.
seen 3 so far. What do we think?
Yo, basically sucks, but
Oh, hey, spoilers for Obi-Wan, obviously, if you haven't watched it.
remember when I was saying how it's dumb that the Jedi uniform in the prequels is those cloaks, because the only reason that's a costume in the movie is because Obi-Wan in the originals is on Tatooine hiding, and he's wearing this cloak. And then they retcon that to be like, that's the uniform of the Jedi. The whole council's
Even
wearing
though he's
those.
hiding, he's
It
wearing
comes to such stark relief in Obi-Wan because he's on Tatooine hiding, wearing these cloaks. But now we know that's just what Jedi wear. Then he goes on a secret mission to save this princess,
Where he's trying to
where
hide.
he's hiding, and he's dressed like a fucking Jedi.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. He's like, oh god, let's do a costume change. I'll put my hood on. Now you look even more like a Jedi.
Yeah, it's like no one else here is wearing hoods. Do you see anyone else wearing long brown cloaks and hoods?
Yeah, it's dumb.
So
Yeah,
stupid.
yeah, really
it's like they
stupid.
really played themselves, like they're in that pretzel now. Gotcha.
Yeah. So I will say that like episode 1 kind of was like, I was like, okay, you know, it wasn't like great. It was like around Mandalorian, if maybe like a little bit better than like the opening episodes of Mandalorian, where you're like, okay, the promise that you're making is like maybe there's something coming that could be good, you know? There's still this sort of like cheesy CW level dialogue and like weird acting by background actors and stuff, and props kind of look fake and 3D printed and stuff. But, you know, Ewan McGregor really elevates it. There's that, like, we have that base level of like modern Disney Star Wars show that is just kind of like seems kind of amateur, but then Ewan McGregor being there, his performance is really good. Would you agree?
I agree. I think that he's the reason to watch it. That's why they call it.
I don't think the series is crap. Well, the first episode was pretty good, except for that kid chase.
Yeah, that's embarrassing.
Do
Let's
not
laugh
chase
about-
a kid.
I was working up to the chip chase. Yeah,
I think
the kid
that
chase.
to me the show is emblematic of the systemic issue that Star Wars is currently stuck in, where they're telling both literally and like thematically, they're telling the same story over and over, longer with more detail. Like story wise, we're constantly getting the disenfranchised warrior from a dying tribe who has to learn to care again.
Yeah.
We've gotten that story like 15 fucking times. We had like the Mandalorian Rogue One. Like that's what they just keep fucking
I
telling.
think that's all they can do, because we've talked before about the different character levers. They're either going to get more competent, more proactive, or more likable. Well, we like Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
We know he's competent as heck, so all that's left is proactivity.
Yeah.
He has to care.
But it's so uninteresting, and I think the show is totally okay. It's like in the 6 range for me, where it's fine to watch. I'm not like mad that it's on, but it's just Star Wars has become just like the same thing over and over. And if it's not that thematic story, it's just the Skywalker saga, another part of it, just deeper dive.
Yeah.
And I just don't fucking care,
And
man.
it's exactly what you said in the beginning of this podcast. Like, I mean, as a podcast, like years ago, you were like, I don't know about TV, man. It's not more content than a movie. It's just 10 hours instead of 2 hours. It's the same content stretched out thin. And that's, what was episode 2? It was of Obi-Wan. It was a chase from that like rough and tough planet to getting off the ship. And what was episode 3? It was a continuation of that chase, now in a rural area. Like nothing has happened.
Yeah.
I will say, I had very strong negative feelings after episode 1 and 2. I kind of enjoyed episode 3. Just
Okay,
for, like,
when
the
that
fan shit happens.
when
Yes,
Vader put him in that
pretty
fire, that was
sick.
insane.
Yeah,
I was
that
like,
was
is he
pretty
gonna be
cool.
scarred and shit?
Yeah.
What's going on?
But then
But
then they back off and he's not really scarred, and I was like, oh.
No. And then the fire lights again, and for some reason Vader can't grab him
Yeah, I
from
was
across
confused.
it. And then there's like someone shoots from the hills on the side, and Vader can't
Honestly,
grab that person.
I really like the dynamic of the Force powers, where like Anakin's been like honing his skill like a fucking razor, like sharp knife, and Obi-Wan's been hiding. He's like rusty and stuff, and I like that power dynamic.
Yeah.
And I like that. I'm sure they'll play with that a little bit.
I don't like
kinda
the Michael
that.
Myers, like Obi's running and then this lumbering zombie
was
is like
dumb.
suddenly in front of him. It's like, what?
Dude, he's got like the Force. He can force speed.
He
Like,
can force teleport, apparently.
I've seen some
I
like
agree.
takedowns of like the editing in that sequence where they like cross the line of action so that we see Obi-Wan running to the right, and then we cut back to Darth Vader, and then it cuts back to Obi-Wan running left out of some dunes, and we're like, it looks like he's running back towards where he just was. It's like, what? Figure it out. Dave Filoni, I love him. He's come up with some great, cool characters, and I think he really is a true Star Wars fan, which is what we really need to like make proper Star Wars movies that don't anger everybody. But at the same time, things seem so amateur sometimes, and it's just disappointing. Like, all I want is a good Star Wars property. I feel so. This is what I wrote down about after watching the prequels and then thinking about Obi-Wan that I had seen so far. I'm like, at least half of what makes Star Wars good, and maybe this is provocative for me to say as a Star Wars fan, at least half of what makes Star Wars good is the music.
Sure.
Because John Williams' score, I mean, like, take any scene in episode 3 and replace it with another more generic score that we have in like Obi-Wan or Mandalorian or whatever, Not to say that the music in those shows suck, but they're not John Williams. You know, they're not. It's not that level. And replace that in episode 3, and it's just immediately so much worse.
100%.
You see the seams, you see the bad performances and the bad dialogue, but you forgive a lot of that when the music is making you feel such crazy emotion. So like half of Star Wars is the music. The next quarter is like the lightsabers and spaceships and cool stuff, okay? And then the last quarter is the hero's journey stuff, epic, high stakes, space opera, family drama, you'd betrayed me, blah, 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 that kind of stuff. Like that is what makes Star Wars really good. And so now we don't have any of that. We don't have John Williams.
I think you're missing out characters too.
Well,
Han Solo.
Characters are in that sort of like
That
hero's
last
journey
quarter?
stuff. Like Han Solo is cool because he plays this role in the story of Luke and stuff. And so now we don't really have any of that stuff.
Yeah.
Like we're rehashing old characters, we're rehashing old stories and copy pasting them into this one to make it seem new, but it's not. I'm looking at a meme right now on the r/saltier than crate subreddit, which I'm subscribed
bad
to.
at Star Wars?
It's like it started after The Last Jedi for people who were like, well, it's because they're salty or they're salty.
Yeah. I get it.
It's like Star Wars shows trying not to be about a father figure protecting a child, impossible challenge, and it's showing all of these Anakin and Ahsoka, Ezra, and what's his name?
Baby Yoda?
No, from Rebels. I'm losing points for it starts with a J. Mandalorian and Baby Yoda. The Bad Batch has a kid in there too, and now Obi-Wan and Leia. It's
the
like
same fucking
it's the
story.
same thing, and it's just tired.
It's because it's for kids. The kids need to relate to it. They need to see themselves on screen.
I just feel like, man, why didn't they put Leia in any of the trailers if this was going to be such a huge part of the story? Like we thought that Obi-Wan is there protecting Luke, and I'm not saying that like we should have Luke being.
I like
doing
Baby
this
Leia.
stupid.
It's cool.
Yeah, I actually don't hate her at all, and I think she's got good sass. Like the way,
I like the
Like in the
characterization.
third episode where she's the clever one coming up with the lies and stuff, I was like, I like this.
Yeah,
I like this.
but the
Just
problem
the
is
chases. Although
that
the
was
chase in
insane.
the second episode was okay because she's in this market and she's slipping through underneath people's skirts and crap. That's
Totally.
fine. But in the first one, I was like, yo, I can catch that kid in about 3 strides.
that was honestly maybe the worst TV show scene I've ever seen in my life.
hilarious.
and then the guy comes out to help her. Hey, I'm here. What's going on?
She runs and she like goes under a branch, and the other guy comes up to the branch. It's chest height. He could duck. He's just like, oh no, you stopped me.
Yeah, they should have just had them immediately catch her and pick her up. Like
It wasn't even like
just as scary.
It wasn't even bad to the point of being funny. It was just like, I mean, I guess it was a bit funny. I was laughing, but I was like, it was painful laughing.
Yeah.
I was like,
agree
how
with
could you do this?
The music is such an essential piece of Star Wars. I don't hate the Obi-Wan theme, but it's got nothing. Like even I briefly mentioned it in this fan edit. I like the final Darth Vader scene better than I think the original one, because the original one is kind of like the sad choral music that's building up to the big no.
Yeah.
But in this, it's the Empire theme.
Bah, 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 bah.
And it's going up and it's giving him the flashes of all the things that made him turn and all the things he's lost.
Right.
And like that music makes it so fucking powerful. And they are losing that. I think The Mandalorian has a cool theme, but it doesn't make me feel the same as like the John Williams
Yeah,
themes.
after hearing the Mandalorian theme a few times, I was like, bam, 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 bam. I was like, okay, I'm singing along with it, but it doesn't. Yeah, it's not the same power. Like, ba da 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 da. It's like ba da da da. Like it's like it makes you lean forward because you're like, oh, this is the galaxy
Even,
at
like,
stake.
The starship battles, like the
Oh, it's so good. I mean, yeah,
We gotta wrap this up,
he's
guys.
legendary.
Okay,
You watching anything else?
Yeah, I'm watching. There's so many shows that came out this week. It's fucking insane. Like The Boys came out. Don't really love the new season. They're going too far in the like, we're pushing the envelope, we're doing crazy shit. Like, do you guys care about spoilers of The Boys?
Yeah, I do care about spoilers. I
Okay.
didn't watch season 2 yet, and I heard it was really good from
Season
you guys.
2 is,
So
I really like season 2. So far, it's the beginning, so maybe they're just doing the shocking stuff. They'll do the cool story, thematic stuff later. The first episode was fine, but they're just doing way too much of the shock.
Yeah.
It felt a little cheap.
That's kind of how I felt. Like, you know, I've watched the first season, and then I started watching. I think I watched episode 1 and 2 of season 2.
that's exactly what I did.
Yeah. And I was kind of like, nah, it's not really keeping me because, you know, we've talked about this before on the podcast, but like, I just feel like the sort of like deconstructing superheroes has been deconstructed itself now. And it's tired a little bit. You know, we've got Invincible, we've got The Boys, we've got all these stories of like, oh, superheroes are actually bad.
Superman
So,
could be evil.
Yeah.
I think that the show peaks in late season 2. I think season 2 is actually quite good.
You haven't seen all of season 3 yet.
Exactly. So I'm holding out. I didn't like season 2 up until like the 3rd or 4th episode when it starts to kind of like coalesce and come together.
Right when I stopped.
What else are we watching?
Stranger Things.
Yeah.
You guys finished Stranger Things?
I finished what is out there so far of season.
Oh yeah, I guess it's part 2 that has to come out.
Volume 2. I think it's 2 episodes.
2 episodes, but they're probably like 2 hours each.
Yeah,
kind of
it's
thing.
like 4 or 5 or 4 hours.
I don't care about
altogether.
spoilers for that, so go
Oh, really?
Audience, we're going to talk about Stranger Things season 4.
Yes, spoilers.
Spoilers in 3, 2, 1.
Nice.
I liked it.
Yeah.
I think it's my favorite of all the shows that I've watched over the last 2 weeks, which is a lot. I think they do some cool things. They do this Stranger Things characters, now that they've grown up, have a different dynamic, and some of them I don't like. But where they take the overall story, I thought was really cool.
Yeah, we talked was it the last episode?
Probably.
We mentioned Stranger Things briefly, and how like they are leaning way more into like the horror side of it with like some really gruesome deaths that you're witnessing in real time and stuff. And I was kind of like, this feels kind of weird because it's like not really the vibe, but like by the end of episode 7, which is how many there are out so far, it comes back, and I'm like, yeah, this feels like Stranger Things. I'm bought in. I really like the sort of more human protagonist.
Yep. Wait, protagonist or antagonist?
Antagonist, sorry, who turns out to be
A human.
a human. And that's what I was talking about with the lightning.
Yeah.
Where he gets disfigured by lightning.
Didn't need that.
And we're like, Rick, come
Yeah.
on. Like he said, you can just tell us that he's been in the Upside Down for
Exactly.
years, and now he got mutated, you know? It's like, it doesn't need to be like
A specific
But
thing,
that was
yeah.
a cool element that he like maybe created the Upside Down.
Yeah.
Because
He's
like
one.
everything in the Upside Down is dated to the day that 11 opened the portal.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I thought that
Turning
was
this world upside down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that reveal, and I think the show did an excellent job of giving you enough information where, in hindsight, you're like, "Oh, it was there," but I didn't think of that. I was like, "This has got to be someone. He's too human." I
Yeah.
thought maybe it was Billy or something, like until about like 20 minutes before like it's explicit, and I was like, I think this is exactly when the show wanted me to start questioning, and
Yeah.
I think it was a masterful level of just
Yeah,
like
I will
drip
say
feeding you.
that whole exposition dump in episode it was
long.
It was too long, and also it just felt really awkward because
Yeah.
Nancy is being invaded by Vecna's mind, and she's seeing the story that is being told by 1, aka Vecna, to 11 in her memory flashback that we're also witnessing at the same time. And it's like, wait, so Nancy isn't getting the exposition. She's just seeing all this stuff. But 11's getting the exposition, but she's not seeing all the stuff. It was just like, wait, what?
Yeah.
This is such a weird, but the audience is getting the full picture, but they're not. It's weird.
I liked the way they kind of set up the flashback as a big plot thing, where it's like we have to go back to where it started
Yeah.
and give 11 like these flashbacks. It was a little heavy-handed. I found it really distracting how they cut between like 10-year-old 11 and like 19-year-old
Yeah.
11. And it's like almost interchangeably. And I get it. They're trying to remind you like, hey, this is like a flashback that she's seeing in her mind. But every time it cuts to like little baby 11, I found it like, oh, yeah. And then it goes back to like full grown 11. And you're like,
Yeah.
what the
Most of
fuck?
the time it does feel kind of weird. There was one shot in particular where I was like, okay, I like this. I like that they chose to do this at this point because it's when 1 kills the whole room of students.
Yep.
And then it like does a reverse shot and he's walking back towards 11 and it's revealed that it's child 11. And it just like emphasizes the difference between them
Yep.
because it's
That's
like
true.
she's witnessing all this murder and all this horrible thing. And you're like, okay, she's in high school and that would be traumatizing, but like how much more traumatizing, how much more of a power imbalance is there between like tiny little kid 11 and
Yeah, 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was fun. I think if you like Stranger Things, I probably would rate this. I would do season 1 is the best one, then season 3, and then 4, then 2.
Yeah, season 2 lost its way a little bit.
Yeah, and it became so much about like character drama, but it was so uninteresting and like the story stuff sucked. But 3 was fun, and I think it had the most sense of fun of all of them. And then this one goes dark in a way that I don't necessarily love, but I think it works.
Yeah,
it works.
It does work. And I think it works with like them growing up and kind of things having more real world
Some of those characters that were the 10-year-old kids now are not particularly likable, but that's fine.
Wait, like who?
Like Mike and Lucas. I don't like either of them. Will's fine.
So I thought Lucas, I didn't like him at first because I'm like, oh, they're not going to like assassinate his character here, you know, like because in every season it seems like he's the one that does some like stupid shit. But in this one, they bring him back. Like you think he's going to be doing some stupid shit, and then he comes back and he like makes up with What's her name? The redhead girl.
Max.
Max.
I like what they do with Max. I don't like Max in season 2. I like her in season 3, but she's kind of like, I don't know. I guess you're just not supposed to love her in season 2.
What episode is that where she almost dies?
That's like 3 or 4. That was
3.
sick.
That was honestly probably the best Stranger Things episode.
Totally. When the Kate Bush song comes on, she's like running. It's
I'm running up
sick.
the hill.
Yeah.
I was like, Lauren and I were like tearing up a little bit.
Yeah.
We're like, that was emotional.
Yeah.
That was
It's
great.
great.
But then they never really hit that high again.
No. And they keep having her with her headphones and stuff, and that's neat. But I'm curious as to, we won't do fan theories here, but I've heard some neat ones relating to Eddie, who I think is a great new fun character.
Ooh, yeah, he's great. The actor is really good.
He's super fun. Like
charismatic.
They do a great job of like, is he evil? Is he not? And then by the end, you know he's not. And you just like him. You know, you just like him.
Maybe he'll turn. I don't know.
Think so. Fan theory spoiler. 3, 2, 1. He's talked about like having to play guitar and like he's always running away from things. So the fan theory that I heard is that the final stand will be him having to play the guitar to keep people grounded in the real world, and he'll be like torn apart as he's playing the guitar.
That would be pretty freaking sick.
So that's the fan theory.
Although we didn't see him playing it. Did he play guitar?
I think they talked about it or something. It was a fan theory that someone said, and I was like, oh, that's cool.
That would be freaking sick. Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, we'll stop torturing James now.
Oh, I'm just answering emails. What's up? Are you guys done? Cool.
Orville season.
Okay.
Episode 1
more
started.
of that show?
It's the new season on Hulu started because it was a Fox show, and they left. Production value went up 30,000 times. It is now a very high quality CG show. Surprising. I think it's lost a little bit of its charm. It's just the first episode. It's fine, but the Star Trek, and hence the Orville, is at its best when it's smaller scale, talking about a real world issue through the lens of sci-fi. The first episode was like intergalactic war, big ship battles, and I'm like, hold on, I don't want this. And I'm worried that because it's a big budget, they might do more of that, but we'll see.
Happy for Seth MacFarlane though. Like, good for him. Getting this show off the ground.
I got an autographed picture of him as captain of the Orville, and I was like very happy.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, as a gift.
Nice.
Thanks, Cassie.
I can't even untangle my headphones from this chair.
Anything else?
I got nothing to say.
I continued Batman Unburied. It's getting a little whack. It's okay.
Aw.
I knew it would. You told me to listen to it, and I'm just going to let you listen to it and tell me how it goes.
It's okay.
That's a bummer. But the first couple episodes still good?
Yeah.
Would you say that overall, if I hadn't started it, it's worth getting into?
If you're driving a lot, it's fine.
I am driving a lot. I need a new podcast.
Why not?
Sure, I will.
Okay.
I will.
Fine. I will. I won't.
I can shout out a YouTube channel that I think is really cool.
Sure.
There's this jujitsu YouTube channel that I was made privy to called Jordan Teaches Jujitsu, and it's so dope. He basically is a black belt, and it's just like footage of people rolling, and it'll be like semi slow-mo, and he just commentates what he's doing. Well, right now I need to make sure my hips are higher than his hips, or else I'm going to lose the scramble. And then now he's thinking about this, and it's just crazy to be like, y'all are thinking about all that shit that fast as a black belt. Like, it's just like watching Neo break down a fight. Like, it's insane. So if you're into that sport, that's a really cool channel.
Jiu-jitsu.
It's not just for Jews anymore.
Good thing that's at the end of the episode where no one will hear it.
That's a harmless joke.
It's a harmless
It is.
joke. That's not bad.
I really like it.
Thank you. Thanks for watching, guys. You can email us, hello@therejustmovies.com. You can tweet at us @TJMPod.
And I will specifically say now, I love you so much, because someone said they were sad that I didn't say I love you so much. I just said see you later.
See you later.
I love you.
So much.
Goodbye
So
then.
much.